welcome to the I Am STS podcast. What's so funny, bro?
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Oh, okay, welcome
Say
y'all.
your part.
I'm sorry, welcome y'all to the I Am STS podcast. My name is Alton Cry with my co-host
Jeremy B. Calhoun.
and Jeremy B. That's his new brand, y'all.
Jeremy B.
Yeah, he's be a Bobby B fan. In the building today, man, we got the one and only Al's LLC. Man, Emmy Award winner.
South by Southwest.
Weebie winner.
Webby winner.
Podcast. Extraordinaire. Narrative. Changing the space.
Trying to.
Our brother Dominique Lawson.
I appreciate y'all.
Yeah.
What's up, bro?
Man, I'm living the dream, man. I appreciate y'all having me.
We appreciate you coming through, man.
Absolutely.
Hey, I'm going to tell you right now, Alton.
What's up?
They better like, subscribe, and share.
Let me tell you something.
Because we getting the Weebie today. Hey, I'm putting this. We're an award-winning podcast. Because I get.
Come on. We have an award-winning guest on the award-winning podcast.
There it is.
Let's go. So how can we get a Weebie? Is that possible? Is it a Weebie?
It's a Webby.
Okay,
so
Webby.
We got to say it right.
Okay,
we got to say it right. We're going to get one.
Okay.
But basically, you submit for the Webbies every year.
Right.
I think they're still doing them right now.
Yeah.
But you're talking about you're going against up 14,000, 15,000 other content creators. It's extremely competitive. You're talking about the year I won. You're talking about SZA, Toby Nwigwe, Anderson Cooper, Tracy Ellis Ross.
Wow.
That cadre of people. So it's competitive, but you know, make award-winning content and all the things and stand out, which is what y'all doing. So
yeah. I love it, bro.
Excellence is the standard right
here,
sir.
Good episode, man. Y'all understand, man. So, man, before we get started, we gotta thank our sponsors of the podcast, V2 Media. Shout out to Uncle Mark and his team. Uncle Mark, what's up, man? Thank you so much, man. If you all need a leader in the space to help you with your podcast, V2 Media is the company to do it, y'all.
The only company.
The only company to do it, all right? And so they're located right here in Memphis. If you want to get in contact with them, shoot us a DM, shoot us a message. We'll get you in contact with V2 Media and the team to make sure that your podcasts and videos are clear, concise, and creative. All right, V2 Media, thank you so much for sponsoring our podcast.
Uncle Mark, what's going on?
Appreciate it, man. And so, as we, we had a fire podcast last time, man.
You did.
With Trevetta, man.
You did.
Bro, man, Trevetta made me.
Yeah, you talked about it all week.
Bro, we had
revelations.
Man, bro, y'all, if you have not watched the podcast we just released before this one right here, go watch it with one of our coaches, Trevetta, man. Yeah. And she was just so intentional and thoughtful about how she move and how she operate, man. Mm-hmm. And she's really challenged me, in who I support and how I support. Really challenging my heart behind the actions, man. And so I'm glad we had our own, bro. I'm glad we got our own, man.
But who we got today?
Man.
Because I know we had the mayor.
Yeah.
AKA the mayor.
Yeah.
Trevetta on. But today we got our brother.
Yes,
we go back. We started at the same time. Same year.
Yep.
2012.
Yep.
I think it was the chess club. It was something downtown. Mm-hmm. And we met y'all. You and Kendall.
Right.
In the room. We was just networking.
We all came up together.
And we met that one time. We've been family for life.
Facts.
Man, what's going on with you?
Man, listen, just working hard, doing some new things. Got a new podcast project coming out in May that I'm really excited about mental health and all the things. So just working, man. Just working. And Kenda, she's got contracts in the whole tri-state area, one in each state. So like I said, we came up together.
Man, so let's start from the beginning, because I want to jump to it, but I know we gotta get to it, right?
Walk the people through it,
Walk man. So Dominique, tell us how you got involved with STS starting off, and then what were some of your experiences in the STS program?
So as you mentioned, there was I think it was a small business Saturday event downtown years ago. And we were just kind of chopping it up and stuff like that. I was like, listen, man, I ain't got no money, but I got some time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So was invited, and I think the first thing I volunteered for was the interview competition.
International paper.
And so I was like, I want to rock with these guys. Like they're about what I'm about, and so I'm gonna give them some of the time. And so when I came in that first time, just wanted to just kind of really just help the way I could, do presentations and stuff like that. I know you talk about the presentations all the time, but it's all about being, trying to do unconventional things, right? You got to meet the children, meet the kids, meet the young people where they are, right? So it's like I wasn't trying to do the same thing everybody else is doing, speak from the lectern, stuff like that. You got to bring in some props and stuff like that. So but I really enjoyed my time. I think like 4 or 5 years I mentored with you guys, and so it was a blast. It was a blast. I'm so grateful for that opportunity.
Man, and the beautiful part about it, go ahead.
I'm about to say, it was pre-podcast.
It was. But we actually were in some of the same spaces from an education standpoint. And I think that's a point to recognize is that just because you in the same space don't mean you can't work together. Correct. Man, I saw one of our good friends, Rico, post something. He said, competition is for the crabs, collaboration is for like the wealthy, right? Competition is at the bottom, collaboration is at the top. Right, and so we realize, man, that if we're at the top, we're gonna collaborate in so many different ways to where competition ain't even a thing no more, right? When we were doing our one of your presentations that you did with us, man, he had props behind the dry erase board. I'm like, where did you put that back there, man? But it was
staged it before we started,
man, the level of intentionality. And creativity that he brought to the program, man, was just like, we are grateful to have my guy in our presence, man, to do that, because people like that, you got to pay for their time. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? The fact he said, you know what, I respect and honor the work that y'all doing. I'm about to give my time, and I'm gonna give it my all 100%. When I'm here.
100%. Like the thing is, I think a lot of people miss out on is think like, oh, there's not 100,000 people in front of you, or there's not a check involved. I mean, it's still a rep. It's a rep to try some things out. And to be fair, I tried some things out with STS, right? And so some stuff worked, some stuff didn't, right? But I think being able to have the space and the opportunity that you guys provided to be a mentor, to be a coach mentor, and do some of those things, honestly informs the work that I do today. Wow. Right? Wow. So to be able to be creative and be intentional and do things unconventionally and things like that. So.
Dope.
Man, I'm just, man, I know we're going to move forward, but man, I just think, man, we were in the UC. You brought this bag full of ropes, rubber bands. You're like, okay, what type of team building is this? Had all the smart college students struggling. Like, oh, you didn't think you were that smart? Look, everybody's struggling. We were trying to figure out how we gonna move this ball from one room of the UC to the other part of the UC. And man, I think you really gave us the framework on teamwork. Gave us the framework on how do we use teamwork to build family and camaraderie. How conflict can create community, and it was just amazing, bro. So that one event, it's still in our STS Elite presentation to this day. Yeah.
Well, that came from the top. They came from my wife, Kendra Lawson, CEO of Owls LLC. She's the educator of the two, and so everything we do revolves around education, right? And so it doesn't have to be that traditional classroom lectern type of of format. Like how can I get these young people on a Saturday morning engaged, right? So it's like if I just go like, this is what we're doing today. We're talking about financial literacy. Like, I'm gonna lose them. I'm gonna lose them. So, but if I'm able to bring in a story about LeBron James and talk about Maverick Carter and Rich Paul and all this stuff, like, oh wait, what? This relates to what we talking about? We get them locked in early. So it's just one of those things. Got to meet them. My wife says this all the time. Meet them where they are to get them to where they need to go.
I love it. Man, talk about that collaboration with you and your wife, right? Yeah, talk about Owls, but talk about collaborating with your wife. Because there's some folks out there that are working with their spouse, and they're creating something together. They're working to create something together. Talk about how y'all been able to do that these years.
It's something that we call the wheelhouse doctrine, in the sense of like. Sin is that she is the educator, the teacher, the nurturer, if you will. So when it comes to something in that wheelhouse, she's going to take that lead, right? And there's and even if I disagree with it, there's no there's no sabotage on my end. That's good. There's no sabotage on my end, right? If it works, it works.
Yeah.
If it didn't, like, well, okay, what can we learn, right? Which I know sounds cliche, but it's one of those things where it really does work. And vice versa with the creativity and storytelling and podcasting, right? So I think it's one of those things where when you have a significant other, you want to work together, understand and have that conversation. Like, what do we do well individually? What do we do well, together, right? And really focus in on that. And so that's how it's been able to work out. Listen, it ain't perfect.
Oh, no question.
It ain't perfect. A lot of like, you did what? Huh?
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. In the end, it's worked out pretty well so far. I like to call it the great experiment, the great 10-year experiment that we've been on, and so it's working out so far. So.
Yeah. Talk about Al real quick, and I know you got a question.
Al's Education is a education consultant for Al's Education Company, because we kind of rebranded here recently. But Al's Education Company is a consulting firm where we highlight and we focus on curriculum building with like corporations, nonprofits, things of that nature. But we think that the world is a classroom, and so we use that as our North Star, if you will, right? And so that can look like curriculum building, that can look like consulting, that can look like even come in during testing time and teaching, which is what a lot of what Kinder does, or it can look like podcasting and sharing these other ways of learning through Black is America and mental health rewritten and things of that nature. So honestly, we are an education company and we teach people. That's the gist of it.
I love it.
Now, I didn't have a question. I was just laughing because when Dominique said, you did what? I could already picture Kinder saying, and I did.
Correct.
And I did.
Correct.
Right. But man, I want to let's talk about, how you really merged into podcasting, because it started out with Al's company. Mm-hmm. And in the middle of working that with your wife, doing great work, you kind of got into the podcast space where people really, it wasn't like it is today.
Right.
Where everybody want to have a podcast. You kind of dived into it and with the startup life. And you just kept going and going. And like, how did you carve out your own lane? Like, you almost created your own lane for yourself while also serving alongside your wife. How did that happen?
So I have this belief, and we have this belief at Al's, that like you can actually, not with 100% accuracy, but you can tell the future if you're paying attention. Okay. So around 2016, 2015, we started seeing a lot of the cars, coming off assembly line with that in-dash touchscreen or whatever. I was like, more and more people are going to start interacting with this and listening to stuff through this mode. Right?
Oh, you thought that?
Yes, correct.
All right, we're going to go outside.
What else?
And so I was like, okay, I think this is going to make podcasting more accessible, right? And so, like I said, we started with me writing this business blog, and then and then Kendall was like, hey, you should think about starting a podcast and this, that, and the other. And so I was like, how can I tell these stories about these business entrepreneurs and stuff like that in a different way. And so, and I was able to do that through interviews and things of that nature. But what really made it take off was when I interviewed the co-founder of Netflix. Yeah. You interview somebody, one of the greatest American businesses, people start to take notice. And so they start saying, who's that skinny, awkward black kid in Memphis interviewing these big-time business people?
Yeah.
And so from there, it was the founder of Dunkin' Donuts, the founder of Paychex, chief marketing officer of MasterCard, the chairman of the board at JetBlue. And so all these business people come to this little small Memphis podcast and stuff like that. And so by that time, the pandemic came around, and I knew a lot of people really flooded into podcasts. And I was like, so I gotta change the game. What's the saying? Switch style up, watch the money pile up.
Yeah, man.
And so that, I went from the interview style to the nonfiction narrative style, which a lot of your true crime are kind of in. And so that's when I got into the mental health aspect of podcasting. That's when I got into the Black History spot with Black is America and stuff like that. And like I said, launching a new mental health podcast later this May. But like that nonfiction narrative piece is really what took me from being a good podcaster to a great podcaster, because like when you talk about that nonfiction narrative NPR style of show, That's a labor of love.
Yeah.
That is a labor of love, especially when you look at some of those credits of like 10, 12 people, and it's just pretty much just me and Kenda.
Yeah.
It takes a lot out of you, but when you look at the work at the end of it, it pays off pretty well. It pays off pretty well. And that's where Webbies and and awards and stuff like that kind of come in at that time.
Man, so talk about what I hear is that you had to evolve into a new industry and learn this industry, or learn this another aspect of it. Talk about that process, because our young people, our professionals, there are industries they want to go into, and it looks great. They can see the future and say, "Hey, look, I know this is going to change,
right?
But it's going to require something of them."
Correct. The thing is like I a lot of people like to talk about this. Get to the top of the mountain, this metaphorical mountain, right? And let's say that mountain is 360 degrees. Everybody tends to want to go up that same side of the mountain, but there's 359 other degrees of that mountain you can go to. Now, those parts of the mountains aren't as paved, they aren't as smooth, they're a little rocky, but there's a path there. And so I just looked at the other parts of the mountain to get up to the top. And so what I did was listen, it's the pandemic. Everybody's flooding the podcasting. How can I stand out? Well, let me listen to this true crime podcast. Let me listen to this. I think I can do this. I think I can do this nonfiction narrative style. And so I literally went on NPR's website, and NPR has a manual of how they create podcasts, from the research to the interview styles and all the things, right? And so I did that, studied it. And then I went and listened to New York Times Daily. I went to listen to This American Life with Ira Glass and stuff like that. People who are known for that style of show. Yeah. And I also knew that a lot of times in podcasts, people talk about growth and monetization. I decided, you know what? I'm going to go critical acclaim. Focus on the awards and stuff like that, because I like to joke now that how you watch the Oscars and this picture wins Best Picture, and it's I ain't never heard of it. That's me. Right. That's me, right? That's me, and so I pride myself on that. So that's where, again, 24-time award-winning podcaster. You start throwing that around. 24. 24. Yeah. People start paying. People start paying attention. Yeah. You win one, a few, this and the other. But you start in those double digits, and people like, oh, okay. And then from there, you start, not just monetizing your show, you're monetizing the skill set. Yeah. So United Way said, hey, listen, I don't want you to do a podcast for me. I just need you to write me the script. I don't want you to host it. I don't want you to edit it. I don't want you to do it for. All I want you to do is write the script. Yeah. Here's a check. And so I think a lot of times, when we think about things linear, we're so closed off. We're there's so other many ways around that mountain to do what you need to do. And so I think that's something that people need to think about.
Man, let me ask you this, man, because when I saw you in December at the Christmas party. Yeah. And we talked about, man, I still ain't did my 10,000 hours yet.
Not yet.
And I'm we were like, what you mean?
That's what I still ain't.
And this has been years and years of doing the podcast. But I wanted to bring that up because 24-time award winner. You actually went and studied. You put the work in, basically. Yeah. And that work still, it basically said there's still more work to do. Can you talk about work ethic and really locking in? Because sometimes our young people, and even ourselves, think that, man, I could just put a few hours in. I could have a weekend or two that interrupt my life, and I should be able to do what Dominique does.
You spoke about the Kobe year, the 24. Job's not finished. Job's not finished. And you can appreciate this part. I have a mentor. I have a mentor who's worked at iHeart and stuff like that. Her name's Crystal Hill. And so when I first started winning those first couple of awards, and she knew how to push me, because I told her that, listen, I'm trying to be one of the best podcasters to ever do it, ever do it. And she's like, oh, okay. And so I was telling her about, my background is, and then I found her won a few awards, and she was like, oh, that's cute. It's not a Webby. It's not an Ambi.
She knew how to get you.
I was like, oh. Yeah. Say less, right? It's not a Signal award. I mean, it's cute what you're doing, but it's not. Cute. Oh, I was like, okay, say less. And so I think I think 2 weeks after that conversation, I submitted for the Webby. I was like, I'm gonna show her, whatever.
I know, right now.
I'm that guy.
I'm that dude, man.
Yeah.
And so, but mentorship has been key for me, because for somebody who has produced, these big name people, I don't want to say on, whatever, but these big name people, and who knows what it looks like, right? And she's like, listen, you got the talent. Let me help you steer you. And so when she was, talking in like certain spaces and podcast rooms, like, oh yeah, I need her to mentor me. And so she obliged me in that. And so it's been lights out from there. And being in these spaces and being in front of, being nominated with Wondery and Radio Lab and stuff like that, being in those rooms and being at the Oscars of podcasting and the red carpets and stuff like that. South by Southwest and stuff like that. So again, critical acclaim. I didn't go growth or monetization. I went critical acclaim, and so it's opened up a lot of doors.
Man, I got so many questions.
I got
so many questions.
Let me have my question first.
Go ahead.
Cause this is piggyback. So
okay, go ahead.
And just real quick, and we also just submitted for Tribeca.
Let's go.
I don't even know what's Tribeca.
Like the Tribeca Film Festival and stuff like that. They have an audio competition in New York, so we just submitted for that as well. So again, get that mentor who opens up the world. Like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. It's like, yeah, that's cute, but it ain't Tribeca. It ain't Third Coast.
And do you need an assistant in New York? I can help.
I'm
I
working.
carry the bag. I carry the camera. I got the mic. I hold the mic. You know what I mean? Whatever y'all need, man.
I feel that.
Yeah,
man, so just two questions, man.
Well, one question, because my question. he gonna tell me I got my question. He gonna throw me in
I
too.
saw he slipping in a little bit.
Oh, yeah, he may switch the direction.
Okay, go ahead, man. Go with your
But
question.
I wanted to hit on two things you said. Like, you were not afraid to go study or borrow from somebody else's expertise.
Absolutely.
Talking about looking at NPR. So many individuals feel like, I don't want to use or borrow or leverage what's already been stamped as a standard.
Yeah.
But you did that, and that helped you, in a sense, understand what the benchmark was to even be able to compete.
100%.
But then the second question is, what gave you the confidence to go submit and say, I'm gonna put my stuff against the SRA. I'm gonna put my stuff against the Anderson Coopers, because that's a whole nother that's a whole other level of confidence to say, not only did I go study and I wasn't afraid to borrow or not get it out the mud my own way, but then I'm gonna go put my stuff against the best of the best.
Yeah.
So I've always felt like, anybody can be beat. Anybody can be beat.
Tom Brady.
Anybody can be beat. And so the thing is like, I may not have ESPN's war chest, but I can beat them on creativity. Yeah. Right? The playing field's level. And a lot of things with like submitting for awards, like people think that like downloads and stuff play a part. It doesn't. Like downloads and all that don't matter. Now it may sway voting.
Gotcha.
Because, human bias and stuff like that, right? But as far as creativity, nah. You're gonna get this story about Tom Lee, and I guarantee you're gonna
from Italy.
Right. I bet you're gonna be moved. I bet you're gonna be moved and stuff like that. So like, it's just one of those things where it's like, I feel confident in my work. I know the reviews that I get, and also I know. Speaking back to your first question, it's just like, just because NPR and This American Life exists doesn't mean that like I can't bring a new flavor to that same foundational style, right? Because I know the people who listen to Black is America may not listen to NPR. They might not listen to Hourglass, but they do appreciate storytelling. So if I can, put the NPR style and start putting Black vernacular and what I grew up with listening to into that NPR style, it's going to resonate. That means it's something new. It's not the same thing. I tell people all the time that, like, one of the two ways to be an award-winning show is to either, one, tell me something I've never heard before, or two, present it in a way that's never been presented before. So maybe you've heard the story of Frederick Douglass. Maybe you heard the story of Martin Luther King, but have you heard the story of Martin Luther King talking, on the March on Washington from the perspective of somebody in the crowd? Have you heard that perspective, right? So it's like there's so many. It's
like the Bible.
It's like
Charles Mark Luke.
it's about the
that's
angles.
crazy.
It's about the angles, like like Instagram models. It's about the angles, right?
It's about the
So
angles.
it's about the angles,
That's
right?
good,
So it's
bro.
like
That's good.
again, like if you can present it in a different way, because like the story of Tom Lee, I was able to present it in a way to like, oh, I ain't never heard this.
Yeah.
Especially when they was playing it on WYXR last year. It's like, oh, they was calling the radio station like, man, what is this?
Wow,
What is this? So
wow.
I hope that answers your question.
I did. It did.
You got nothing?
But I put them
Okay,
together
okay.
so you can have your space.
Don't look at the camera. Don't look at them. They can't say you. Man, so man, when did the switch click for the level of confidence and popping your stuff come? Like, when did it switch? Because I think I don't know if we had a conversation about it, but I just remember there being like a switch of like, bro, I'm talking about me, bro. I'm gonna share about what I'm doing. Like, when was that moment? And do you remember that moment, or do you remember that time, or because I feel like I saw a switch in?
It was a few. It was a few moments.
Yeah,
it was a
yeah,
few
yeah,
moments.
yeah.
I remember telling the very first episode of Black is America. It was about John Fox, and I think I took the first, because one of the things I pride myself on is that first 2-3 minutes.
I got you.
I'm gonna hook you in that first 2-3 minutes,
Okay,
right?
okay.
That's another thing for podcasters, like the consumption rate, right? That consumption rate is important as well. Not just if they hit play, the consumption rate as well. But I remember doing the first 2-3 minutes of John Fox and had this cliffhanger. And everybody I shared it with, I think I shared it with you as well. He's like, where the rest of it at? Where the rest of it at? I was like, you gotta wait till February. Like, no, I don't want you. Like, I need to know right now.
Yeah, right now.
So that was one. And the other one was when I was working at the behavioral health company, I created a brand new show for them. I pitched it to them. I pitched it to the C-suite. And I'm like, this is what it is. And they're like, yeah, all right, whatever. Create a pilot, let us know, blah, blah, blah. Created the pilot, this, that, and the other. And they listened to it. And they literally was like, and it's funny how things work. I get a text message, don't leave us for NPR. Don't leave us for NPR.
They saw it. They said,
And
it sound different.
then, I'll say this last piece that really did it for me. A 40-year-old clinician, well, in the business 40 years, telling stories about trauma, this, that, and the other. And she listened to it, and I got her stamp of approval. She's like, this young man may have changed the way we tell stories in mental health. I've been doing this for 40 years. I've never heard mental health stories be presented like this.
And that's what I knew when they're coming out.
That was actually another one I was doing before. So it's like all three of those things combined. I was like, nah, I'm that dude.
I got some.
I got something.
Yeah.
Facts. And there's a certain level of confidence that comes with that when you know it.
I got you.
And I know we got to get ready to wrap up. But I do want to ask you this, because was there a point where you almost let it go? Because it seems like there's always, you see the highs and the lows, but sometimes there's a low point where in most stories where it seems like you see your breaking point, but you also at your breaking point of giving up. You're at the breaking point of achieving something that you never could have imagined, but you're also at the breaking point of walking away from everything. Have you had that point?
Episode 74 of The Startup Life would have been the last one. By that time, I was, didn't see the download numbers, didn't see this, that, and the other. I was like, man, I'm gonna go on break. I'm gonna go on summer break. But I really was like, man, I think this might be it. I think this might be it. And it was a good friend of mine, hit me up. I was at a restaurant or whatever, like, hey man, when the next Startup Life? And I was like, well, at least he listening.
Yeah.
I can just do it for him.
Come on, yeah.
Had divine intervention, call it whatever you want, but like, had he not stepped in and said, like, when the next one? Probably there is no 24 time. There is no going to Walt Disney World, somebody else dying, do the podcast and all this other stuff. None of that. If he hadn't like, hey man, when the next one at?
Yeah.
So that was it.
Man, what for you, bro?
Summer 2018, I think.
Summer 2018.
It's major, dog. Man, so for you, man, where you are now, what's in the future, man? What's in the future? What are you looking forward to? I know you working on the next mental health podcast. Man, where's the next thing that you're looking forward to in this space?
I think the next thing I'm looking forward to is that next crop of creatives in the podcasting space. Because one of the things I wish I would love to see when I'm in those rooms, at those awards galas, more people who look like us. Because there's a lot of barriers still, right? And so, and to a certain extent, I'm just barely making it. I mean, they was closing it. I'm like, slide right in. Yeah, slide right in real quick. But there's still a lot of barriers there. So I would love for more people to get into the narrative space.
Okay.
Because you can really open a lot of doors otherwise that, probably didn't think of in podcasts because, listen, living proof.
Yeah.
Living proof.
Yeah. That's what's up, man. That's what's
Yeah,
up.
man. I know we gotta wrap it up, so I'm gonna end it with this to be my final words. For the people listening, our students, parents, individuals who enjoy our podcast, and again, our podcast is the I Am STS podcast. I am setting the standard. Mm-hmm. I want to encourage you that we say that I'm a student. I have more to learn. Mm-hmm. Right. What I heard today was a lifelong student that has showed up to do the work, embraced the work, had hard times, but kept going, kept showing up, and leading with being a student. It allowed you to become a boss where you have more to earn. A leader, you got more to change. Now, because you committed to the studentship, now you can boss up and you can create change. So for any young person that wants to do those things, please remember, you got to be a student first. Yeah. And Dominique is a great example. His story is a great example of how your studentship can transition to leadership and change.
I love it. Man, Dominique, we appreciate you, bro.
I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate y'all.
Man. Thank you so much for investing in us, man, challenging us. Now, I know we met at what's the restaurant downtown, bro? Start with an S.
Sage.
Sage, bro. And man, you challenged us, but also you commended us for starting our podcast, man, and poured into us as well.
100%.
Right, and so, man, we appreciate your support, man, your investment in us, bro.
Of course.
Man, also, man, all the things you're creating, bro, and the creativity hasn't stopped. You haven't stopped working. You haven't stopped pushing in the midst of having a family, midst of having a transition here and potentially move back. Like, all those things still happening, bro. You still pushing forward, bro. And it's an inspiration, dog.
Appreciate that.
It's an inspiration, man. So we support, man. Kendra, thank you so much for letting us borrow it. Borrow dog. With Lawson. Man, a great father, amazing husband. Phenomenal business owner and award-winning podcast. We
got the Webby.
We got the Webby on the IMS podcast. IMS podcast.
Got it.
Hey, like, subscribe, share, comment on STS podcast. We're gonna end with the creed. You remember the creed, bro?
I do remember the creed.
Oh, let's go. You want to kick us off?
What we come to do?
Compete.
How we rocking?
With excellence.
I messed it up.
Me too. Look, I almost messed up.
It's fine. Go ahead. I thought I remember. Go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I got you. What we come to do?
Compete.
How we rocking?
With excellence.
I'm a boss.
I got more to earn.
I'm a student.
I got more to learn.
I'm a leader.
I got more to change.
How we winning?
On purpose.
We do this.
We do this.